Here, try this. It's amazing.
I really shouldn't. That Chipotle mayo doesn't sit well with me.
I just was hoping you were more of an adventurous eater.
Oh, I am.
Then eat it and stop being so whiny. There you go, little beta boy.
Babe, I need to pull over. My stomach is killing me. Is that cool?
No, it's not cool. Alan is expecting us.
Do you understand how much danger you're in? Pull the fucking car over now! For the love of all that is holy and good in this world!
Oh my god, no!
Can you help me?
Hell no, you stank asshole.
Here, try this. It's amazing.
Aren't gonna believe what we...
How was that? That was pretty cool, right? I love those Bigfoot AI stuff. I think they're great. I think they're really funny. So I hope you guys enjoy them. I enjoy them myself. Happy Monday. I hope you guys had a nice weekend. There was a lot of news happening in the last couple of days, so we're going to jump into the news and hopefully not upset anybody because, well, you know, some of the stuff's pretty upsetting. So anyway, how you doing? My name's Jim. This is Jim Tells You, where I tell you the news and what I think about it. And if it's your first time here, if you don't mind, if you would subscribe to the channel and then hit that like button and, you know, leave a comment, you know, participate in the chat, but, you know, leaving a comment on the video helps with the algorithm and really helps move the channel along with YouTube and stuff. And if I'm trying something different tonight, I'm streaming to Instagram and Facebook and Rumble and X and YouTube. So let's see. I don't know if it works or not. We will have to see. I don't know, but we're giving it a whirl. But anyway, I guess just to get it out of the way, there is a slight goal for the evening on the chats. I have about 75 or 76 links, tabs open for news stories to go through. I'm hoping to get through them all in about 4 hours, but it might take a little bit longer. But anyway, you know, if I get tired after 2 hours, I might quit unless people decide they want me to keep going and they want to throw some super chats my way that would motivate me to keep going longer than 2 hours. But anyway, we will jump right into the first story because I know everyone wants to, you know, wants to do that. There we go. Jump right into the first story. Hello, everyone. This morning, an individual opened fire at the entrance of the United States Border Patrol Sector Annex in McAllen, Texas. Both Border Patrol agents and local police helped neutralize the shooter. 2 officers and a Border Patrol employee were injured, including one that was shot in the knee. All 3 have gone to the hospital. This is an ongoing investigation led by the FBI. The attack on the Border Patrol agents in McAllen, Texas, underscores escalating threats facing law enforcement amid Washington's failure to secure our borders. While agents risk their lives neutralizing armed assailants, DHS continues pushing half measures like CBP Home App, a digital self-deportation tool that does nothing to deter violent extremists that are targeting federal facilities. This ambush proves that border security requires physical deterrence, not bureaucratic gimmicks. Every dollar wasted on apps and streamlined processes should instead focus on hardened infrastructure, increased patrols, and advanced surveillance to protect those defending our sovereignty. Until DHS prioritizes frontline security over performative tech solutions, agents will keep facing preventable dangers. The facts behind these attacks demand a harder look at DHS priorities. I don't know what happened. Somehow something got doubled up there. Saturday, a North Texas police officer was ambushed at a DHS facility and shot in the neck by 8 men in body armor. Today, an active shooter ambushed Border Patrol agents in Texas and a cop was shot. Democrat pro-illegal alien rhetoric is marking law enforcement for death.
Right shortly about 8 or 10 minutes before 6 a.m. this morning is when we react to the call. Once we were on scene and we determined we have not only a shooter that's been neutralized, we have an active scene, but the real trigger for us to begin shutting things down was that strange vehicle in the parking lot, because we did not know whether or not there were any other secondary or even more suspects at large, or suspects or explosives, that is, in the parking lot. So out of precaution, we shut this whole zone down until we were able to determine that piece of it. And that is, and just to the point that I walked up here is when we finally got a green light. That is, we finally said, okay, all's clear as far as that particular vehicle, and we're going to be clearing right.
Yep, absolutely outrageous. This has got to stop. When politicians on the left are going to be arrested for inciting violence against law enforcement. Nice. Bingo. A man with a rifle carried out a shooting at a Border Patrol facility in McAllen, Texas, before being shot dead. Suspect has been identified as Ryan Mosqueda. The shooting follows an officer being shot in the neck outside an ICE building in Alvarado, Texas. The attack on the Border Patrol agents in McAllen proves exactly why Trump's border security overhaul was necessary. Under Biden's failed policies, cartels operated with impunity, emboldening violent actors who now target law enforcement. Trump's reinstatement of Remain in Mexico policy and aggressive ICE enforcement has already slashed illegal crossings by 72% before this ambush. Imagine the carnage if catch and release was still the norm. These attacks aren't random, they're retaliation against a system that's finally working. Every bullet fired at our agent is a desperate act by traffickers losing billions thanks to Trump's walls, drones, and zero-tolerance deportations. Weak politicians enable this chaos. Now real leadership is crushing it. The data behind these numbers and the real impact on border violence are laid bare. They are following orders from their leaders in the Democrat Party. We're going to talk about this story. Suspect in Texas Border Patrol ambush shooting identified as Ryan Luis Mosqueda. Local police and federal agents returned fire, killing him. Border Patrol agents were ambushed by an active shooter when they arrived at the Border Patrol Annex facility in McAllen, Texas on Monday morning, law enforcement has said. No federal officers were shot in the incident. However, one McAllen, Texas police officer was struck and is in stable condition. The gunman was shot and killed by officers on the scene and has been identified as Ryan Luis Mosqueda. According to Fox News, Bill Malugin, 3 federal and Texas law enforcement sources tell me an active shooter with a rifle and tactical gear ambushed Border Patrol agents as they arrived at the border annex facility in McAllen, Texas this morning. Local police and federal agents returned fire, killing him. I'm told this was a purposeful ambush attack against federal agents, and the press conference is planned for later this morning. No federal agents injured. I'm told a McAllen police officer may have been shot, but is in stable condition. ABC7 reported that Mosqueda, 27, was the individual in the apparent targeted shooting at the immigration facility. Law enforcement returned fire, killing Mosqueda. The Department of Homeland Security responded to the situation, saying in a statement this morning an individual opened fire at the entrance of the United States Border Patrol Sector Annex in McAllen, Texas. Both Border Patrol agents and local police helped neutralize the shooter. This is an ongoing investigation led by the FBI. More information will be shared as it becomes available. There's the statement. Fox News reports the police believe the attack was purposeful targeting of immigration enforcement officers. This comes just 2 days after a Texas police officer was shot when he was near the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Prairieland Detention Facility. U.S. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche wrote on X in response to the incident, "We are closely monitoring the attacks on the DHS facilities in Prairieland, Texas, and Portland, Oregon, and are coordinating with the United States Attorney's offices and our law enforcement partners." The department has zero tolerance for assaults on federal officers or property and will bring the full weight of the law against those responsible. The ambush on the federal immigration officers follows a 500% increase of assaults on ICE agents, as there has been backlash from the left against President Donald Trump's immigration policies and deportation. There has also been anti-ICE riots in the wake of the White House's immigration crackdown. Several of the riots took place in deep blue cities around the country last month, including LA, Portland, and Seattle. An Alvarado police officer in Texas was shot in the neck after police were lured to the ICE facility by masked extremists in black who attacked cars and security cameras. Antifa and far-left extremists have been urging people to murder police and ICE agents. The left went from abolish ICE to shoot them in the neck, and the media is still pretending it's just activism. This is domestic terrorism, period. Ten individuals have been arrested and charged with attempted murder for a planned ambush of ICE agents in Alvarado, Texas. Bury these degenerates under the jail.
We're here to tell you that late at night on July 4th, Friday night at approximately 10:37 p.m. at the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas, 10 to 12 individuals dressed in black military-style clothing began shooting fireworks and engaging in acts of vandalism at the facility. And this was part of an organized attack. Today, my office has charged 10 individuals with 3 counts of attempted murder of a federal officer. Each of the 10 are also charged with 3 counts of discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. Each of these defendants faces a mandatory prison term of 10 years and up to life in prison. An additional co-conspirator was charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy for attempting to conceal and destroy evidence in relation to the attack, and he faces up to 10 years in prison. Let's discuss the incident. It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers. Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush.
Definitely an ambush. Multiple suspects in custody after officer shot outside the Texas ICE facility on July 4th. Officers encountered an individual who appeared to be armed as one officer attempted to engage an unknown number of suspects opened fire. Police officers were shot and several other suspects were taken into custody following a late-night attack outside an Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility in Alvarado, Texas on July 4th. According to the Alvarado Police Department, officers responded around 10:50 p.m. to a report of a suspicious person near the 1200 block of Sunflower Lane. Upon arrival, officers encountered an individual who appeared to be armed as one of the officers attempted to engage an unknown number of suspects opened fire. Police confirmed that one officer was struck in the neck. He was airlifted to a hospital in Fort Worth, treated, and later released. Authorities stated that several armed individuals attempted to flee but were taken into custody. While the names have not yet been released, a federal law enforcement source told CBS News that 8 people were arrested and some were wearing body armor. The same source indicated that more than a dozen masked individuals dressed in black arrived at the facility late Friday night, vandalized security cameras and vehicles, and launched fireworks in what is believed to have been a distraction tactic to draw law enforcement into the area. The FBI declined to comment on the ongoing investigation. Alvarado police say the motive remains under investigation. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said to the Department of Justice is actively monitoring the situation. We are closely monitoring the attacks on the DHS detention facilities in Prairie Land, Texas and Portland, Oregon, and are considering coordinating with the USAO's offices and our law enforcement partners, Blanche said in a statement posted on social media. The department has zero tolerance for assaults on federal officers or property and will bring the full weight of the law against those responsible. Blanche appeared to be referencing another incident from June in which 3 individuals were arrested following confrontation with law enforcement outside the ICE facility in Portland, Oregon. So yeah, so it seems like there's been a lot lately of these attacks, and they seem to be getting more violent and more coordinated, and it's almost like someone is telling them or signaling, some political party might be signaling what is happening to let people know that they need to get out there and do something. So I don't know. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better. On to the next story. We talked briefly about this last night. About the DOJ and FBI find Epstein committed suicide and he had no client list. There was nothing to see here. Move right along. No lists, no clients, no nothing. These people were all trafficked to no one. So the disgraced child sex trafficker harmed over 1,000 victims, said the review, which also reported that there's no record of his clients has ever been found. So all those videos and DVDs and hard drives that they found and recovered, that's just they're blank. There's nothing on them. Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide and had no client list, according to the Department of Justice and the FBI. I don't believe that. On July 7th, 2 agencies released a memo stating that they would not release any further material related to the Epstein case. As part of our commitment to transparency, the Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigation have conducted an exhaustive review of the investigative holding relating to Jeffrey Epstein, the agency stated in a memo, which was confirmed by the White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt. Nobody's mentioned anything in the chat. Oh, there we go. Hello, Steve. How you doing? The review found Epstein committed suicide in his cell as he was awaiting trial in August 2019. This concurs with an autopsy conducted at the time. The conclusion that Epstein died by suicide is further supported by video footage from the common area of the special housing unit, the SHU, where Epstein was housed at the time of his death. The review found that Epstein did not keep a list of clients as part of his sex trafficking activities. Additionally, there was no evidence that Epstein blackmailed individuals. Where did he get all the money from? Come on. That's ridiculous. Where did he get the money from? Nonetheless, according to a review, Epstein harmed over 1,000 victims and each suffered unique trauma. To ensure that the review was thorough, the FBI conducted digital searches of its database, hard drives, and network drives, as well as physical searches of squad areas, locked cabinets, desks, closets, and other areas where responsive material may have been stored. These searches uncovered a significant amount of material, including more than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence. The Epstein file contained images of videos of whose appear to be minors and of illegal sex abuse material and other pornography, all reviewed while maintaining the privacy of the victims. Most of the files are under seal. Only a fraction of this material would have been aired publicly had Epstein gone to trial, as the seal served only to protect victims and did not expose any additional third parties to allegations of illegal wrongdoing. Upon becoming Attorney General, Pam Bondi pledged transparency in the Epstein case. This Department of Justice is following through on President Trump's commitment to transparency and lifting the veil on discussing actions of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators. Who were his co-conspirators? Who were his co-conspirators? You're not making a lot of sense here. FBI is entering a new era, one that will be defined by integrity, accountability, and an unwavering pursuit of justice, Kash Patel said. There will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stones left unturned, and anyone from the prior or current Bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. If there are gaps, we will find them. If records have been hidden, we will uncover them, and we will bring everything that we find to the DOJ to be fully assessed and transparently disseminated to the American people as it should be. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. Let's see. We have this guy here who, I don't know if you guys all know, Nate the lawyer. I think he's, might not always agree with his opinions, but he can't, his reasoning is generally pretty sound. For all the idiots who think there is no Jeffrey Epstein list, here is Attorney General Bondi saying she has the list on her desk. Don't be stupid. Open your eyes. Okay, let's see.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So yeah, so they have them and they're going to review them. I think she understood the question I was asking about the Epstein files broadly, and she's not specifically a client list. Sure, go with that. Suggesting that she said this before looking at the list, because if Trump was on the list, it would be foolish to claim that you have the list and will release it, and then don't. Body's foolish. So let's see. Hold on a second. Man. Just erase something. I gotta find what it was. It says exclusive DOJ and FBI conclude Epstein had no client list, committed suicide. In other words, NSA says the moon is made of green cheese. All right. This one says, if only we had an FBI that can look into this. Jeffrey Epstein's secret bank account is still moving millions and no one knows why. A judge in the Virgin Islands declared there's no explanation for why millions of dollars have been moving between one of Jeffrey Epstein's secret bank accounts. Almost like maybe he's still alive. Then First Lady U.S. Virgin Islands worked for Jeffrey Epstein. Interesting. Here's this. Agents at the FBI New York's field office were protesting James Dennehy's forced resignation after he was caught concealing the so-called Epstein files, documents that we now are being told today never existed. That's odd. Very odd. Very odd. Very, very odd. DOJ, FBI conclude Epstein had no client list, died by suicide. President Donald Trump's Department of Justice and FBI have concluded that they have no evidence that the convicted sex offender and disgraced financier blackmailed powerful figures. He kept a client list or was murdered. According to the memo detailing the findings obtained by Axios, the administration is releasing a video in both raw and enhanced versions that it says indicates no one entered the area of the Manhattan prison where Epstein was held the night he died in 2019. The video supports a medical examiner's finding that Epstein died by suicide. Why it matters, the findings represent the first time Trump has officially contradicted conspiracy theories about Epstein's activities and his death, theories that have been pushed by the FBI's top two officials before Trump appointed them to the Bureau. As social media influencers and activists, Kash Patel and Bongino were among those in MAGA world who questioned the official version of how Epstein died. Patel and Bongino have since said Epstein killed himself, but it's become an article of faith online, especially on the right, that Epstein's crime also implicate government officials, celebrities, and business leaders, and that someone killed him to conceal them. I don't think I'll ever not believe that. The memo says that no one else was involved in the Epstein case will be charged. Ghislaine Maxwell serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking. Sex trafficking to who, though? That's the question. Who? According to the memo, investigators closely examined the footage of the prison cell between 10:40 p.m. when Epstein was locked in a cell to around 6:30 a.m. the next day. It was found unresponsive. The footage, which was reviewed by Axios but couldn't be verified independently, showed no one entering the area, the administration said. The FBI enhanced the relevant footage by increasing its contrast, balancing the color, and improving its sharpness for greater clarity and viewability. Investigators found no incriminating client list of Epstein's. See, what does this mean? They found no incriminating clients list. Did they not find a clients list, or are they just saying it's not incriminating? You see how they play these games with the words? I don't like that. No credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals, and no evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. I don't believe them. As MAGA influencers, Patel and Bongino have been among the loudest voices touting Epstein conspiracy theories. Since joining the government as Trump appointees, they've been more measured in talking about the Epstein investigation and throwing cold water on the notion he was murdered. He killed himself, Bongino said. MAGA Media Universe and some of the voices on Capitol Hill have expressed frustration with the Trump administration's handling of the Epstein case since February, when the DOJ released a tranche of Epstein-related files that were already publicly available. Conservative figures panned the disclosure, saying it lacked new information. This is not what we or the American people asked for, and a complete disappointment. Rep. Anna Paulina Luna posted. Yeah, that's some information we asked for. When Elon Musk had a falling out with President Trump last month, Musk accused the president of being in the Epstein files. Trump posted on Truth Social a statement from former Epstein lawyer David Schoen saying Trump wasn't implicated in any crimes. Schoen had also represented Trump in the second impeachment trial. Musk later deleted his accusation. Another post on X saying he went too far. Still, the questions about whether Trump's name is in the government Epstein files have persisted because they have been acquaintances who attended the same parties in the 1990s. In a 2017 interview with author Michael Wolff, Epstein even claimed that at one point he was Trump's closest friend. Trump, however, said in 2019 he was not a fan of Epstein and hadn't spoken to him for 15 years. He also said he barred Epstein from his golf resorts in the early 2000s. Democrats, meanwhile, have demanded to know more about Epstein-Trump relationship, but not about the Epstein-Clinton relationship. The DOJ and FBI sent a memo that no further disclosure of the Epstein-related materials would be appropriate or warranted. The memo says most of the materials relates to child sex abuse, details of Epstein's victims, and information that would expose innocent individuals to allegations of wrongdoing. Who decides they're innocent? Shouldn't a trial decide if they're innocent or not? Through this review, we found no basis to revisit the disclosure of the materials and will not permit the release of child pornography. The Axios market story. Okay. And then Tim Pool said, so here's the Justice website memo. Not only is 1 minute missing from the footage, the frame jumps, and then a dude walks in and enters one of the rooms. What's this footage supposed to be? I mean, did they seriously just edit out somebody walking through the scene and that garbage can moving and they think nobody's going to fucking notice? Because I just noticed it. That's ridiculous. The garbage can has moved multiple times. There was a guy that was there and it disappeared. I mean, what are they talking about? Nobody went near him. This is more and more unbelievable the more I see. What's he doing in there? Why is he closing the door? What's he doing? Killing him? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense. None of this makes sense. None of this makes any sense, I have to say. None of it makes sense. So he was killed by a black guy? It might not even be the actual door. Important to note that previously this photo of Epstein's cell was released by the DOJ. The footage released yesterday is completely different. Yeah, completely different. See? Doesn't look the same to me. Does not look the same to me. That trash can from below is suddenly upstairs outside his cell. Yeah, it's weird, right? How it does that. All right, I don't know what it is we're looking at here. Something don't make a lot of sense. Something don't make a lot of sense here. All right, let me real quick. AA Agagaga put a $1.99 super tip, super chat, whatever you want to call it. Thank you very much. That leaves only 19 more to go to make this show go 4 hours or 5 hours tonight. And then he says, I'm going to sound naive, but I truly believe they would be honest. Yeah, me too. I don't know. Yeah, his cell's on the other side of the room behind the wall on the right side. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's the same thing. Says that's not his cell is in the frame. I don't know why there's, I don't know. They're making it worse, it seems. Hey, break them up. How you doing? Breaking through at 1.75. Good job. Way to go. So, Ducey, what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk? 11. She was saying the entirety of all the paperwork, of all the paper in relationship to the Jeffrey Epstein crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, even though the word list was used. So let's see.
The DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
Follow up on that,
Sure.
Caroline. Okay, so the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars where they belong. They promised an exhaustive review. That's what they did. For any further details, I will refer to the Department of Justice.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with these other streams. So yeah, see, so there she is. There's Carolyn Levitt. She's slowly. Oh no, she's now the clown girl, the Krusty the Clown. I had that Jeffrey Epstein story 3 years ago. We had Clinton, we had everything, but ABC killed the story for some reason. Amy Robar on the hot mic. That's right. Uh-oh. Come on. What are you doing? There we go. I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. Alex Acosta, the DOJ official who gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart plea deal in 2008, and who was quoted saying that he was told to back off Epstein because he belonged to intelligence, mysteriously had all 11 months of DOJ emails to him in that time period mysteriously disappear. Huh. See? There's a data gap of roughly 11 months in Alex Acosta's incoming email box. IT staff and Acosta all told investigators they had no idea where the messages had gone. I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence. Oh. Just gone. No one knows what happened to literally all of the main guy's emails during that whole year, and no one has tried to recover them. Conducting a review apparently indicated access to more than 850,000 emails of the 5 prosecutors who were the subject of review. But an appendix report OPR revealed there was an 11-month gap in Acosta's incoming emails that coincided with the time frame of Epstein investigation and negotiations over the deal. Determined that most likely a technological error that caused the emails to not be preserved. Yeah. What an odd thing to happen. It's very odd. Very odd. So, what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think? What does everyone think about Epstein? Everyone think that he is you think he's dead? Think he's alive? Does anyone know? I mean, I don't know. There's rumors that he's still alive. There's rumors that he's not dead. There's rumors that he worked for the KGB. There's rumors he worked for the CIA. There's rumors he worked for Mossad. There's rumors he worked for DG, whatever is the DGR, DG5, the French intelligence, MI6. I mean, who knows? Maybe he was like a cutout that all of them used. I just don't see how you can get from the point that they have all this information. We've seen the pictures of all the hard drives, the pictures of all the DVDs, all the stuff that they got, the raids that they did, and now all of a sudden they say they don't have any evidence of anyone else being involved. And we know for a fact that all these people were going to his island. These people were riding on planes with them. We have videos of people getting massages from these people. So basically, if there's nobody else to be charged, are they saying that Prince Andrew guy didn't do anything either? That he didn't he didn't do anything wrong? So has he been wrongly persecuted? Is that what's been happening? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Just makes you wonder. Anyway, on to another story, which is also very upsetting. Breaking: House Democrats now admit that their base is urging them to abandon law and order, embrace political violence, and even be willing to get shot at ICE facilities. There's a story about people getting shot at ICE facilities. That's odd, isn't it? That's odd. Claiming that bloodshed is needed to stop Trump. What we're hearing, the grassroots wants more. Some of them have suggested what we really need to do is be willing to get shot when visiting ICE facilities or federal agencies, a third House Democrat told Axios. Our own base is telling us that what we're doing is not good enough. There needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public. A fourth House Democrat said constituents have told them civility isn't working and to prepare for violence to fight to protect our democracy. I thought democracy was settled at the ballot box. These guys are talking about settling it at a different kind of box, the ammunition box. That would be the opposite of democracy, wouldn't it? A fifth House Democrat told Axios that people online have sent me crazy shit, tell me to storm the White House and stuff like that. So they added, there are always people on the internet saying crazy stuff. Democrats' dangerous rhetoric fuels 700% surge in violent attacks on federal agents, culminating in armed terrorist assaults on ICE and Border Patrol agents and facilities. Threats neutralized today. In a chilling escalation of violence, a heavily armed terrorist ambushed Border Patrol agents at their McAllen, Texas office days after the armed attack rocked an ICE facility in Alvarado on July 4th. Agents backed by local police neutralized the shooter, but the message is clear. Federal law enforcement is under siege. ICE reports a staggering 700% increase in violent assaults as a direct result of the Democrats' reckless demonization of agents who enforce laws passed by Congress. From calling ICE Gestapo to glorifying rioters, Democrats incite mob violence, with many radical rioters being criminal illegals. Proof we need mass deportations now. With SCOTUS reining in Marxist judges, Democrats in disarray and devoid of platform resort to encouraging chaos. This is a war on law and order. America must stand firm. Hashtag ICE raids, hashtag Border Patrol, hashtag at Real Time Holman, at Amuse. Retweet. Sure. Repeatedly calls for political violence. Wonders why there's political violence. And all the violent rhetoric by a number of radical Democrats is gradually leading up to official civil war between conservative, patriotic Americans and the Marxist left Democrat supporters. It could be. New in Axios. Dems are being told by constituents to break the rules, fight dirty, and not to be afraid of getting hurt. Some of them suggested what we really need to do is be willing to get shot, said one House Dem. There needs to be blood. There needs to be blood. When Democrats don't get their way, they get dangerous. Huh. Yeah, they do, don't they? So I'm assuming the media will stop insulting most Americans by saying Dems are the party of love and happiness. We'll see, I guess. We've had members of Congress assaulting federal agents for months now. What the heck did they think would happen? Here's the headline. There needs to be blood. Democrat voters tell them to get shot. Trump-resistant Bush. And here's the story. Here is the story of a people crazies who want to get shot by police on their own. Democrats told to get shot for the anti-Trump resistance because they are all mentally insane. At the town halls in their district and in one-on-one meetings with constituents and activists, they're told Democrat members of Congress are facing a growing thrum of demands to break the rules, fight dirty, and not be afraid to get hurt. I was trying to do the Brady Bunch theme, but it kind of got away from there, so sorry. It's ridiculous. Why it matters. House Democrats told Axios they see a growing anger among their base that has, in some cases, morphed into a disregard for American institutions, political traditions, and even the rule of law. Yeah, but with the Democrats, it would be the crazy bunch, not the Brady Bunch. The crazy bunch, da-da-da, the crazy bunch, da-da. That's the way they became the crazy bunch. Do-do-do-do. This idea that we're going to save every norm and that we're going to play by Republicans' game, I don't think that's resonating with voters anymore, said one House Democrat. Another told Axios that a sense of fear and despair and anger among voters puts us in a different position where we can't keep following the norms of decorum. Axios spoke to more than 24 House Democrats for this story, with many requesting anonymity to offer candid insights about their interactions with constituents and activists. Zoom out. For months, Democrat lawmakers have fumed at their base demands to fight harder, misunderstand the lack of legislative and investigative power afforded to the minority party in Congress. We've got people who are desperately wanting us to do something no matter what we say. They want more, said Rep. Brad Schneider, D of Illinois. He's a real piece of work, that guy. The chair of the center-left New Democrat Coalition. Liberal voters have angrily accosted Democrats at town halls for, in their view, doing not enough to counter President Trump's agenda. In response, some Democrats have tried to up the ante. They heckled Trump, mounted rogue impeachment attempts, even getting tackled by law enforcement and inciting others in their effort to scrutinize the president's deportation campaign. Yeah. The grassroots wants more. Some of them have suggested what we really need to do is be willing to get shot when visiting ICE facilities or federal agencies, a third House Democrat told Axios. Our base is telling us that we need to do is not good enough, that there needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public. A fourth House Democrat said his constituents told them civility isn't working and prepare for violence to fight to protect our democracy. It's only democracy if they win, though. Otherwise, everyone else is fascist and they have to fight them with weapons. I don't know if they understand how stupid that sounds. A fifth House Democrat told Axios that people online have sent me crazy told me to storm the White House and other stuff. There's always people on the internet saying crazy stuff. Oof, just burped. Between the lines, while other Democrat lawmakers said their discussions haven't gone that far, nearly everyone who spoke to Axios cited examples of voters' panic and fury, fueling demands to adopt brute force tactics. Well, brute force tactics would mean violence, would mean attacking people, inflicting pain and harm. That's what that would mean. So a sixth House Democrat that would say when they try to persuade voters to channel their frustration and to focus on winning back Congress, people who are angry don't accept that. They're angry beyond things. It's like the Roman Colosseum. People just want more and more of the spectacle, said seventh lawmaker. What they're saying. Schneider, like other Democrats, said the Trump impeachment efforts have proven extremely popular with grassroots voters, and that even as he tried to shoot them down as impractical, some simply find the idea irresistible. Representative Ro Khanna, a high-profile progressive, says he believes the most effective pushback to Trump's unconstitutional actions is to model a reverence for the Constitution and the rule of law. So we're going to get into some unconstitutional actions by some of these judges later on. I got some stories. Many lawmakers said these voters tend to be white, well-educated, and live in upscale suburban or urban neighborhoods. What I've seen is a demand that we get ourselves arrested intentionally or allow ourselves to be victims of violence. And a lot of the times, that's coming from economically very secure white people, said an eighth House Democrat. Yeah, there's nothing worse than liberal white women, man. That's all I'll say. Not only would that be a gift to Donald Trump, not only would that make the job of Republicans in Congress easier if we were all to be mired in legal troubles, we are a group that is disproportionately people of color, women, LGBTQ people who do not fare well in prison. I don't know. I thought the vast... Never mind. I mean, if you're talking about people that don't fare well in prison, I mean, gotta look at who makes up the prison population. Isn't there a certain demographic that makes up the majority of the prison population? So I think they would do better than the people that make up the majority of the prison population would probably do better in prison than the people that make up the minority of the prison population. But I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Bottom line, the expectations are just unreal. They're dangerous, said the eighth House Democrat. A ninth lawmaker told Axios, I actually said in a meeting, when they light a fire, my thought is to grab an extinguisher. A ninth House Democrat told Axios. And someone at the table, have you tried gasoline? These people are nuts, man. Go deeper. Mm-hmm. Incensed House Democrat plan ICE funding war. House Democrats incensed at being repeatedly denied access to ICE facilities are warming to the idea of using the appropriations process to force policy change at the agency if they retake Congress. Why it matters. ICE-focused protests and pressure from grassroots are forcing Democrats to inch away from their instinctively defensive crouch on immigration, but there's internal division on how far to go. We've got a situation where our base is demanding more and more of us every day, said one House Democrat, speaking on a condition of anonymity. The lawmaker added, the numbers have been told by constituents that we have to be willing to get shot. Many Democrats are scarred by the GOP attacks on the Abolish ICE movement and hesitant to take steps that appear to be aimed at dismantling or downsizing the agency. State of play. Just over the weekend, House Democrats in California and New York were refused access to ICE facilities in their respective states to perform checks on detained migrants. But they have to schedule that in advance. They can't just show up and demand entrance. It doesn't work that way. Representative Jimmy Gomez, Norman Torres have alleged that ICE officials even sprayed some kind of irritant into the air to push us back. Were they with the protesters? Were they with the rioters? Representative LaMonica McIver is being prosecuted by the Justice Department for allegedly assaulting law enforcement. It's on videotape. You could see her do it. Congressional Hispanic Caucus Chair Adriano Espelate said that he believes Democrats should reassess the funding possibilities. Absolutely. He said of being denied access to an ICE facility this weekend, they asked for money, right? And then I go there and they don't allow us to go in and check out the facilities. Representative Maxwell Frost, another communist, a member of the Democrat leadership, told Axios, everybody's on the board with the fact that we're going on right now. It's not right and reform is needed. Yeah. This administration is rounding up people by mistake. They don't care, said Rep. Brad Schneider. No, they're not. The chair of the center-left New Democrat caucus. That guy's not center-left. That guy's wacko far leftist. We can't let this happen. Key Democrats on the House Appropriation Committee signaled that ICE is on the table as part of a broader effort to scrutinize the Trump administration spending. They'll be reviewing everything, looking at what are the kinds of things we can do to get our government back on track. By back on track, what they mean is to letting illegals in and giving them free stuff. Representative Lauren Underwood, the ranking member of the House of the Homeland Security Subcommittee, we're going to look at all funding. What's happening right now is really bad. A clash is already brewing over how far to go, with some progressives eyeing actual funding cuts as moderate border hawks draw a bright red line in opposition to that idea. Some of us would like to see it completely broken down. I've been talking about reducing funding, said Rep. Delia Ramirez. Yeah. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez criticized hypocrisy among Democrats. where folks want to campaign against ICE when they're in the minority, but when they're in the majority, we continue to funnel unfettered funds with absolutely no guardrails. Centrist Rep. Henry Cuellar, a member of the Appropriations Committee, told Axios he's sure there will be a push, but he will not support reducing ICE funding. Bottom line, even centrists like Cuellar aren't ruling out supporting potential policy writers to appropriation bills to try to reform the agency. It's a policy. The men and women, they're the same. It just depends on what policy comes down, he told Axios. Ramirez, as for her part, was clear-eyed that you're not going to see an abolition of ICE, even though some of us might want that. A number of us are introducing legislation even now to continue to talk about changing policy specifically to ICE. And I think you're going to see more people do the policy thing more than the funding parts of it. Yeah. So, and on that same vein of stories, we have this. You know, when the New York Times is saying this, I think the person might be a little ahead of themselves. The DNC is in chaos and desperate for cash. Here's the story. All right. And here's one of these crazy people that the Dems are having to listen to.
Hey, honeys, Republicans, don't you worry. We're going to let you have this big, beautiful bill. Don't worry, we're going to let you have it. Enjoy it. Because in 2 more years, the Democrat takes back the House. Don't you worry about that. Because all the representatives that voted for that bill, no matter what, you will be held for accountability come election time. Remember that. Because guess what? When you take away food from children, when you take away SNAP benefits from parents, when you take health care away from the people that need it the most, and you want to say that you're not going to do taxes on tips, or you're not going to tax Social Security, but then you put into the bill, it's like a different separation, and it's not a tax break, but it's going to be taxed. But then at the end of the year that you can go back on your W-2 forms and redo it. What? You guys will suffer the loss of your votes come 2026 election. Just remember that. So enjoy it now.
Wow. I'm scared. Are you guys scared? I'm scared. But they do have this problem, though. This is the only problem, right? They have this. This is the problem. They have these people that are crazy like her. Her name is Aretha Chinlin. The DNC is in chaos and desperate for cash. Under its new leader, Ken Martin, the Democrat National Committee has been plagued by infighting and a drop in big donations, raising alarms for Democrats as they try to win back power. Just months into the tenure of a new party leader, Ken Martin, the Democrat National Committee's financial situation has grown so bleak that top officials have discussed whether they might need to borrow money this year just to keep paying the bills. Yeah, I think she said snack benefits, not SNAP benefits, snack benefits. She's really worried about her snacks. Fundraising from major donors, some of whom Mr. Martin has still not spoken with, has slowed sharply. At the same time, he has expanded the party's financial commitments to every state and even to far-flung territories like Guam. Fellow Democrats are grumbling that Mr. Martin, who's quietly accepted a raise after taking the post, has been badly distracted by internal battles. So far, they say he's been unable to help unite his party against Republicans who control the federal government. A protracted public fight with David Hogg, 25-year-old activist who pretended to be at a shooting, turned D.C. vice chair, who blindsided party officials with a plan to challenge incumbent Democrats, made things worse. The clash included the leak of embarrassing audio of Mr. Martin questioning his own role and ended in Mr. Hogg's unceremonious exit this month. Yeah, Hogg, who got to go to Harvard because he ran back to school and took a video of himself saying he was hiding in a closet. Has he ever come out of the closet? Does anyone know? That was soon followed by the news that two of the country's most influential labor leaders, who represented a combined 3.2 million workers, were also leaving the DNC. Both questioned the party's direction under Mr. Martin. Rufus Gifford, who served as the finance chairman of Kamala Harris's 2024 campaign and maintains relationships with many top donors, suggested Democrats are being sent the wrong message at a time when they are desperately looking for fight and leadership. They want fight, all right. They were just saying it. They want their people to go out there and start getting violent. What they are seeing is headline after headline of incompetence and infighting. And I think that's a real problem, not just for DNC, but for the larger Democratic brand. We need to come together and focus on the issues at hand. That's got to happen now. And I mean today. And if it can't happen, we need to shift course. This account of Mr. Martin's tumultuous early tenure is based on interviews with more than 24 Democrat lawmakers, donors, strategists, DNC members, and party officials. It says this is worse than some high school student council drama. Yeah, look at it. That's because they got a high school student guy in there. Some guy stunted in high school. Part of the bumpy beginning appears to be the fallout from a bare-knuckle fight for the chairmanship, with the spoils going to the winner as usual. Mr. Martin has pushed to install allies in some key posts and remove supporters of his vanquished rivals. Some of the changes will leave people feeling as if they don't have a seat at the table, said Donna Brazile, an influential former party chairwoman and current DNC member. And I don't know if you guys remember Donna Brazile's claim to fame was she leaked questions for a town hall to Hillary Clinton. And it was a Democrat town hall against Bernie Sanders. That's when they rigged the primary against Bernie. She did not endorse a candidate or vote in a race for chair. He's got his own inner circle. I'm not in it, and I don't want to be in it. I wonder why. It has not been lost on some Democrats that Mr. Martin arrived at the DNC as the consummate insider, a man who has led both the state party in Minnesota and the Association of State Party Chairs. Yet he has struggled to navigate some internal Democrat coalition politics. Mr. Martin has offered to keep the top two union leaders, Randy Weingarten, the president of the American Federation of Teachers Union, and Lee Saunders, the president of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, as members of the DNC, but he would not renew their plum assignments on the powerful Rules and Bylaws Committee, which controls how the party nominates its presidential candidates. 1 second. I'm going to do something. 1 second. My bad. I had just noticed something. My bad. The hog episode also consumed and exasperated party leaders. For close to 2 months. This is worse than some high school student council drama, said Representative Mark Pocan, a Wisconsin Democrat. In an interview on Tuesday, Mr. Martin acknowledged that his early efforts to rebuild the party had been overshadowed by some of this inside baseball stuff. But he said that he was bringing about meaningful change, pointing to an increased investment in all 57 state parties. There's only 50 states. So how is there 57 state parties? I mean, I guess in Washington, D.C., that would be 51. Maybe territories like Guam, Puerto Rico. I don't know, maybe. But they shouldn't call them 57 state parties. They should just call them the 50 state parties plus territorial parties or something like that, saying 57 state parties. There's not 57 states. So, and it was helping to organize more than 100 town halls in Republican districts, carrying out an extensive 2024 postmortem and creating a war room to counter President Trump. There was a lot of people that are carrying grudges, that they're still litigating the campaign, that their person didn't win. Mr. Martin said, I am not one of those people. There's no sense of living in the past. I have no enemies other than Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Oh, so he admits that Republicans and Donald Trump is his enemies. A party low on money. The biggest challenge facing Mr. Martin may now be financial. 6 people briefed on the party's fundraising who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss its finances, frankly, said big donors who are an essential part of the party's funding had been very slow to give to the party this year, as Mr. Martin lists his contributions. A commitment to state parties, which amounts to $1 million in monthly spending, has further strained the finances. Senior DNC officials have discussed the possibility of borrowing money in the coming months to keep the operations fully funded, according to 2 people with direct knowledge on the private discussions who insisted on anonymity. Mr. Martin acknowledged these talks. That's certainly not our plan right now, he said, of tapping onto a line of credit. I don't know if it's something we'll do. We'll have to do it at this point, he said. He noted the grassroots fundraising had remained strong and that the party's small donations in the first 3 months were the most under a new chairman. Yeah, I wonder if it's those small donations coming through Act Blue that are all smurfed, that aren't like the people actually making the donations. That, you know, people are making thousands of small donations that aren't them. Still, the party's total cash reserve shrank by $4 million from January through April, according to the most recent federal records, while the Republican National Committee's coffers swelled by roughly $29 million. A new report is due this week. The party out of power often falls behind the one holding the White House. Still, the current financial gap is large. $18 million on hand for the DNC entering May compared to $67 million for the RNC. Hefty chunks still sit in special accounts that cannot be used for operational costs. In the first 4 months of the year, only 3 people gave $100,000 or more to the DNC, according to the FEC reports. The party said it received 3 more six-figure donations in May and June from individuals. Almost no one questions Mr. Markin's worst ethic. He has traveled to 24 states as chairman and has energetically sought out money from donors, including this week in New York, just days after 2 friends were assassinated in Minnesota. Everything that Ken has done, regardless of the drama that has caused, has been the right move, said Maria Cardona, a longtime DNC member. He does the work. He rolls up his sleeves. She said other allies noted that Democrats had won recent down-ballot and special elections with Mr. Martin campaigning in person in several instances. Mr. Martin said he had found that major donors were unhappy across the Democrat ecosystem after last year's defeat. He has commissioned a significant post-mortem review of the 2024 race, which is being overseen by Paul Rivera, a longtime Democrat strategist, and is set to entail as many as 200 interviews. A final report is expected by the May end of summer. People invested more money than ever they had before. They dug deeper than they ever had, and they're quite frustrated by the result. Mr. Martin said of big donors. They want answers. I don't take it personally. I wasn't in charge. A recent New York Times event with Miss Harris did not bring in as much money as some hoped, raising roughly $300,000, according to people briefed on the matter who insisted on anonymity to the project. The sum was a fraction of the $1 million price for a single top-end ticket to a New York fundraiser headlined by Miss Harris last fall, when she was the nominee. Even as the party faces financial crush, the DNC and Chris said Mr. Martin's salary this year, federal records show, and the party confirmed his annual salary is now $350, up from $300. Mr. Martin said in an interview that his salary had been set by a compensation committee within the party. Tensions and bitterness. Nothing fractures a party quite like Mr. Hogg's surprise decision to wade into Democrat primaries to try and oust incumbents. He and Mr. Martin feuded privately and publicly until Mr. Hogg's ultimate departure. At one point, Mr. Martin directly called a lawyer, Graham Wilson, who worked at the firm of the Democrat super lawyer Mark Elias, to express dismay that the firm was also working with Leaders We Deserve, Mr. Hogg's political action committee. The firm subsequently dropped Leaders We Deserve as a client, according to 2 people briefed on the matter, who insisted on anonymity to discuss private conversations. A DNC spokeswoman said Mr. Martin had never instructed the law firm to end its relationship with Mr. Hogg's PAC. Yeah, I think that would be a crime if they did that. David Hogg came in and dropped a nuclear bomb on the place, said James Skoufis, Democrat state senator in New York, and Martin Allen, who was recently installed as the party's executive committee. It's everyone's hope and expectation that the drama will be behind us. One challenge for Mr. Martin is wooing big contributors is that during the race for DNC chair, his campaign criticized his chief rival, Ben Wickler, the chairman of the Wisconsin Democrat Party, for its ties to some party's largest donors, such as billionaires Reid Hoffman and Alex Soros. Shortly after Mr. Martin won, he told the New York Times that the onus would be on the donors to mend any fences. Mr. Soros has not heard from Mr. Martin since then, according to a spokesman for the billionaire. Mr. Martin said he had tried to connect with Mr. Hoffman, but had not had a chance to reach out to Alex yet. He added that the new initiatives had begun, including a war room to press the party's message, and the state investments would pay long-term dividends. Another early Martin project is a new streaming show on YouTube, The Daily Blueprint, which is filmed in a studio with high-end production. The show has drawn a minuscule audience so far, with some episodes scoring less than 1,000 views. Wow. So I'm in competition with that show. I draw 1,000 views on some of my shows. Maybe they should, man, I don't know. I don't want to give any ideas because I wouldn't help them. Definitely. I would not help. Okay. Switching gears here. This is relevant pertaining to that stuff about the flood in Texas. We have a pediatrician fired for vile post politicizing devastating Texas flood. She said, Trump supporters get what they voted for. What do you know? Look, it's a liberal white woman. What do you know? There happen to be the worst people. May all visitors, children, and non-MAGA voters and pets be safe. Kirk County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts. Yeah, that's what you call she should be fired. Good. Democrats are the most vile creatures on the planet. Look at these people. Ruh-roh, Texas, what you going to do? There's no FEMA to pick you up by your bootstrap. They gave it all to ICE. This one, Texas deserves every flood. God has spoken and hates Texas. And it's kind of happy the National Weather Service gave incorrect predictions when it came to how much rain will fall, especially since they Bessa Bryce from that org were let go due to Doge and Elon Trump. These are all liars. People in Texas voted for government service control by Donald Trump and Greg. This is Ron Filipkowski. This is exactly they're getting exactly what that is exactly what they're getting. Look at these people. It's what Texas deserves. So I hope people realize that this is the Democrats, that this is who they are, and you know, all their talk about, you know, how they're compassionate and how they you know, like how they care. They're the party that cares about people. No, they don't. No, they don't. They're the party of virtue signaling. They're a party that hates America and that they, you know, hate their neighbors. They really do. Pediatrician fired for vile post suggesting Texas flood victims were Trump supporters who got what they voted for. A pediatrician has been fired. You're fired. Over a vile post suggesting that more than 80 killed in the horrific Texas floods, including dozens of kids, were President Trump supporters who got what they voted for. Awfuls, definitely breaking them up. Awfuls. Affluent white female liberals. Awfuls. Yeah, it's supposed to be a U in there for urban liberals, but I guess they don't necessarily have to be urbans. Dr. Christina B. Props drew widespread scorn following the disparaging, since deleted posts under her old Facebook username, Christina, according to Mediaite. May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry, Probst wrote in a now viral post. Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts. The Facebook post quickly went viral after a screenshot was shared by libs of TikTok. Probst employers, Bluefish Pediatrics, initially said the employee had been suspended before announcing that the individual is no longer employed there. As we previously mentioned in our post, we strongly condemn the comments that were made in that post. The post does not reflect our values, missions, standards, or the mission of Bluefish Pediatrics. We do not support or condone any statement that politicizes tragedy, diminishes human dignity, or fails to clearly uphold compassion for every child and family, regardless of the background or beliefs. See the warnings residents received before the tragic Texas flood. July 3rd, the National Weather Service flags flash flood risk. The same morning, NWC issues flash flood hazard outlook, flash flood potential for Caribou and surrounding areas. A previous initial statement said that she had been placed on leave was shared by the head of the Texas Medical Board, Dr. Sharif Zafran. There is no place for politicization. The entire focus will be on looking for survivors. Any complaints we may receive will be thoroughly investigated, he posted on X. Community and patients. This past week, we were made aware of a social media comment from one of our physicians. The individual is no longer employed by Bluefish Pediatrics. As we previously mentioned in our original statement, we strongly condemn the comments. We do not support or condone any statement that politicizes tragedy. We continue to extend our full support to the families and surrounding communities who are grieving and searching for hope. Texas Medical Board has not announced a formal investigation. The callous post prompted immense backlash online. Please tell us this person is not allowed anywhere near patients in Texas, one social media user wrote. There she is right there. Awful. She's an awful, all right. We are residents here and find it beyond horrific and also very dangerous. Please help, they add. This is the sort of pediatric clinician employed by Bluefish MD in Houston. Ethics and humanity and empathy listed here is unfathomable, wrote another. The doctor appeared to have changed her username and profile image on Facebook since the post went viral. Several ex-users noted. Pope's profile pages were taken down from the Bluefish Pediatric site and the website for Memorial Hermann Health System. Was that Hermann Goering Health System, which is associated with Bluefish Pediatrics? Memorial Hermann also acknowledged the controversy in a statement. We are aware of statements made by a physician on social media and strongly condemn these statements. This provider is not employed by Memorial Hermann. We have zero tolerance for such rhetoric, which does not reflect the mission, our vision, or values of our system. A little more on the flood. There are obvious familiar aspects to the news coverage. It takes a very little for the media to seed a false story. It quickly enters the echo chamber and is repeated on countless social media sites. Never let a crisis go to waste. Weaponization of such tragedies has become commonplace in American politics. Previously, Democrats like Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer bizarrely attempted to blame the crash of a Mexican ship in New York and air accidents around the world on Trump cuts. Once again, we need to see what went wrong in Texas to try to avoid such tragedies in the future. The hair-triggered response of the media to weaponize the tragedy should also be reviewed. However, it is far more likely that there will need to be changes to emergency procedures than any serious change to journalistic practices. The media simply cannot tell the truth when it comes to President Trump. 92% negative. Mainstream media is deliberately lying about the events leading up to the catastrophic flooding in Texas. The National Weather Service executed timely, precise forecasting and warnings despite the unprecedented rainfall overrolling the region. Here's the timeline of the response. July 3rd, they sent out warnings in the morning. Sent out more warnings on July 3rd. 1:18 in the afternoon, more warnings. 6:10 in the evening, more warnings. 6:22 in the evening, more warnings. 11 p.m., more warnings. 1 a.m., more warnings. 4 a.m., more warnings. 4:30 a.m., more warnings. 5 o'clock, more warnings. 5:34, more warnings. The National Weather Service provided over 12 hours of advance notice via the flood watch and over 3 hours of lead time for flash flood warnings, which escalated alerts as the storm intensified. So, yeah. But here's the Democrats. Wow. Never let a crisis go to waste. Press and pundits push false story on Trump cuts causing Texas tragedy. Democrat strategist and former Obama Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel once stated that you never let a serious crisis go to waste. That philosophy seems to be the playbook for the media and pundits immediately after the flood in Texas, as many rush to claim that it was caused by Trump budget cuts to the National Weather Service. From George Stephanopoulos to Rosie O'Donnell, the hoax was spread that there was an understaffing at the National Weather Service that may have caused these deaths. It did not matter that it was an easy matter to confirm, or that the underlying claims of understaffing at NWS team were false. The weaponization of such tragedies has become commonplace in American politics. Previously, Democrats like Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer bizarrely attempted to blame the crash of a Mexican ship in New York and air accidents around the world on Trump cuts. There are legitimate reasons to question whether cuts to agencies like NWS might impact key programs, such as weather warning systems. There's also questions about whether long-standing forecast modeling failed to capture the severity of the particular storm. However, basic honesty and decency would demand a modicum of inquiry before blaming the National Weather Service for a failure that caused mass deaths, including a large number of children. Indeed, the rush to claim that the tragedy was caused by understaffing can make it more difficult to find any real failures in the system. It is also possible that this was a convergence of weather systems that happened so fast and late at night that few citizens could take meaningful action. Some reports indicate that the river rose by 20 feet in only 45 minutes. Nevertheless, many rushed to take political advantage of the tragedy. Grant Stern, the executive editor of Occupy Democrats, wrote on X, it only took 9 days for Trump's cuts to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to kill dozens of children in Texas when Tropical Storm Barry landed this week. Oh, it's Joe. Oh, Joe went live. In reality, the National Weather Service had extra personnel working the storm and issued the first warning 12 hours before the flood. Moreover, even assuming that the cuts to the National Weather Service might impact warning systems, they are not even scheduled to take effect until next year. While there were retirements and resignations earlier in the Trump administration, there's no evidence that those departments are impacting weather warnings, let alone this emergency. However, the media pounced as the death toll rose. Even after the administration refuted the false claims, they were still being promulgated by the press. On ABC's this week's George Stephanopoulos ominously declared, we're also learning that there were significant staffing shortfalls to the National Weather Service offices in the region. Whatever shortfalls are being reported in the region, they did not appear to impact the early warning given 12 hours earlier, or the fact that there was extra, not fewer, staffers working the storm. Again, none of this mattered. Politicians and pundits such as Hakeem Jeffries and Adam Kinzinger joined the chorus to suggest that cuts would make this a repeated failure. Joaquin Castro told CNN Sunday that the National Weather Service should be investigated. I don't think it's helpful to have missing key personnel from the National Weather Service not in place to help prevent these tragedies. As parents mourn dead children, commentators rush to lay losses at the feet of the administration. Ron Filipowski, editor-in-chief of Midas Touch News, wrote, "The people in Texas voted for government services controlled by Donald Trump and Greg Abbott. This is exactly what they got." Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. It seems like a lot of the articles do relate to stuff more than once. Rosie O'Donnell, who famously fled the United States for safety in Ireland after the election, added to the false narrative. What a horror story in Texas. When the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weather forecast abilities of the government, these are the results you're going to start to see on a daily basis. These are obviously familiar aspects to the news coverage, but it takes very little for the media to seed a false viral story. It quickly enters the echo chamber and is repeated on countless social media sites. When it is finally debunked, the media just shrugs and walks away. Whether it's a false story about ages whipping migrants and Texans or the photo op claim in Lafayette Park, false stories were disproven only to have the collective shrug from those who spread them. Heading into the presidential debate, the White House and the media attacked Fox News and other outlets for cheap fake videos designed to make the president look confused and feeble. For months, politicians and pundits insisted that Biden was sharp, commanding in conversations, even after Special Counsel Robert Hur cited his decline for reason not charging him criminally. On MSNBC, Joe Scarborough stated, "Start your tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This is a version of Joe Biden's intellectually, analytically is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I have known him for years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it." When the truth came around after the election loss, reporters ran around claiming that they were shocked by the fact that Biden was indeed mentally and physically diminished. By that point, it did not matter. Biden was out and the truth could be reported in a slew of belated books and articles. Yet some media outlets have refused to acknowledge false stories even after they were debunked. At the Washington Post, columnist Philip Bump previously had a meltdown in an interview when confronted about past false claims. After I wrote a column about the litany of such false claims, the Post surprised many of us by issuing a statement that stood by all of Bump's reporting, including false columns on Lafayette Park protests, Hunter Biden's laptop, and other stories. That was long after other media debunked the claims, but the Post stood by the false reporting. Many news media outlets pushed such stories because they knew that the readers want the claims to be true and would be outraged or even convinced when the stories are later debunked. Notably, when the New York Times recently ran a confirmed story that was negative for Democrat mayoral nominee in New York, liberal readers and pundits were outraged. Once again, we need to see what went wrong in Texas to try to avoid such tragedies in the future. However, the National Weather Service appears to have done its job with adding extra staff and reportedly issuing the first warning 12 hours in advance. We need to look at precisely when those warnings were issued during the critical periods and what information they conveyed. The hair-trigger response of the media to weaponize the tragedy should also be reviewed. However, it's far more likely that there will be changes to emergency procedures than any serious changes to journalistic practices. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes, so I'm going to say goodbye on X and Facebook and Instagram, because I don't even think Instagram is working. So we're just going to remove it by Instagram. If anyone on there wants to come watch on YouTube or Rumble. Jim tells you. Okay. So, and then we're going to jump to the next story. I'm saying they're late. Another story. Democrats retreat on climate. It's one of the more disappointing turnabouts. A top climate scientist is warning that climate change will wipe out all of humanity unless we stop using fossil fuels over the next 5 years. That was in 2018. What do you know? I'd say they were wrong. Changing political climate has California Democrats recalibrating on climate policies. Sacramento, California. Donald Trump is coming for California's signature climate policies, and so is California. Stung by the party's sweeping losses in November and desperate to win back working-class voters, the Democrat Party is in retreat on climate change. Nowhere is that retrenchment more jarring than in the nation's most populous state, a longtime bastion of progressive politics on the environment? In the past 2 weeks, California Democrats have retrenched on environmental reviews for construction projects, cap and oil industry profits, clean fuel mandates. Election officials are warning that ambitious laws and mandates are driving up the state's onerous cost of living, echoing long-standing Republican arguments and frustrating some allies who say Democrats are capitulating to political pressure. California was the vocal climate leader during the first Trump administration, said Chris Chavez, deputy policy director for the Coalition for Clean Air. It's questionable whether or not that leadership is still there. California leaders are still positioning themselves as the vanguard of the resistance to the president's environmental rollbacks. The polls still consistently find voters believe addressing climate change is worse. The cost. I don't know about that. Governor Gavin Newsom has sued to block Trump's removal of California's permission to enforce its clean air standards and vowed to extend a landmark cap-and-trade program imperiled by Trump. But they're in a far different position than Trump's first term, when they were signing deals with automakers to keep the state's emissions rules afloat. And even 2 years ago, when they were taking on oil companies by threatening to cap their profits. It's a reversal that is dismaying to climate activists, an outspoken part of the Democrat Party's base. And it's a trade-off, traded with significant and potentially long-lasting policy implications. The party leaders are making an effort to regain political strength. We got some challenges, and so it requires some new considerations, Newsom told reporters last week after his administration proposed steering clear of oil profits cap as a way to keep refineries open. It's not rolling back anything, he said. It's actually marching forward in a way that's thoughtful and considered. Other parts of the country are pulling back on climate policies in the name of affordability also. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is delaying plans for a carbon trading system and slowing the enforcement of the state's rules for clean cars and trucks, which followed California's. Maryland Governor Wes Moore is similarly pausing on carbon trading. In Congress, some 36 Democrats, including 2 from California, signed onto the effort to overturn California's vehicle rules. But California, as a state with the strongest suite of climate policies and a decades-long reputation of stalwart environmentalism, is now becoming a likely leader in the Democrat pivot as they try to respond to cost of living concerns as they fret may have cost them the election. This is part of the Democrats doing some soul searching and really trying to figure out what they stand for, said Marie Liu, a climate research lobbyist, climate-focused lobbyist and former top environmental advisor to legislative Democrats. Newsom and other Democrats last week infuriated environmentalists by punching exemptions for housing developments and other projects like health clinics and high-speed rail into the decades-old law requiring a wide range of projects to clear environmental reviews. A separate push in the state Senate to dilute the state's stringent fuel rules drew a rebuke from the head of California's powerful Air Resources Board, who called it irresponsible in the face of a federal onslaught. Did any of you notice that California has all these boards and all these different groups that run stuff? That's what communism is. It's run by committee, by boards. Everything is through these boards and committees and blah, blah, blah. And they get appointed and then they do what they want. Then they don't even listen to the people who appointed them. And Newsom in March ordered his recycling regulator to rewrite plastic weight reduction rules to lessen the cost for businesses, which upset the state lawmakers and environmental groups who originally renegotiated the waste reduction deal, but energized business groups opposed similar rules in New York. The backtracking reflects a pervasive sense that once popular climate policies are extracting a political price by pushing up energy and housing costs, creating support from both Democrat candidates and climate policies themselves. For a lot of Democrats, the 2024 election was a reality check about the importance of cost of living issues and affordability for California, said Mark Baldassare, survey director of the Public Policy Institute of California. That's given policymakers some pause about what is actually workable in the terms of environmental policy. Sacramento to Washington, Newsom and his allies are retrenching in Sacramento as Republicans in Washington take aim at the core California climate planks, like its long-standing ability to set tougher pollution limits. And even on Capitol Hill, Democrats who would typically decry Trump's agenda have sided with Republicans who call California's policies unsustainable. Representative Lou Correa, who has said the 2024 election showed Democrats must heed cost-strained voters, and Rep. George Whitesides, who flipped a commuter-heavy Los Angeles district last cycle, voted to block Newsom's order, phasing out the sale of new entirely gas-powered vehicles by 2035. Affordability has become the watchword for Democrats. The poll presented Wu Warren Democrats learned the wrong lesson by focusing narrowly on intermediate concerns like gas prices and expense of larger issues like a shift from fossil fuel. Not just playing around on the 10 cents a gallon, but looking to actual transition to cleaner alternatives. So this talking about putting major, in-state oil producers maintain political pressure on Democrats and spend more than $50 million over the last 2 years. Sustained campaign of mailers and advertisers blaming the state's climate policies for higher prices. Yeah, there's that. Mm-hmm. All right, now we're gonna go on to another story. It's AOC. I don't know if you guys saw AOC was busted. There was a whole thing by Benny Johnson, other people, that AOC isn't from the Bronx. She actually lived in the suburbs, Westchester. She's actually a rich girl who went to private schools, theater kid. Well, now she says she insists that she grew up between the Bronx suburbs, but locals near her childhood home are still confused. You're from here. Yeah, there she is, see? Yeah. She was handpicked by the Democrat Socialists of America, given a storyline, and they likely coached to play the part. People of the Bronx were sold a performance, and many bought into it. Meanwhile, she continues to mislead her constituents while her district suffers from neglect and decay. As conditions worsen, she rises in fame and wealth. That's the reality of my disgraceful Congresswoman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Yep. AOC now insists she grew up between Bronx suburbs, but locals near her childhood home are still confused. You're from here. Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez responded to ridicule over calling herself a Bronx girl by claiming she grew up between the city and the leafy suburbs, but locals near her childhood home are still confused. People from Yorktown, many of whom grew up in the Bronx themselves, chimed in on a liberal firebrand's narrative about her youth after her yearbook photos recirculated on social media. And AOC fundraised off criticisms, but still avoided saying she lived in the upper Westchester County. Oh, hey, look at that. You can tell right out of the gate she isn't from the Bronx. Listen to her, insists a retired FDNY firefighter Billy, a 47-year-old with a Bronx accent who now lives in nearby town of Valhalla. Listen to us, said Billy, who was golfing with a fellow Boogie Down native at Mohansick Golf Course in Yorktown one recent morning. We've been out of the Bronx for years, but we still sound like idiots. It just doesn't go away. She doesn't have that in the way she talks. Ocasio-Cortez raised eyebrows and drew heat when she again labels herself a Bronx girl during a spat with President Trump, a Queens native, late last month. While she was born in the Bronx, she moved up to Yorktown as a tot with her family, attending Yorktown public schools through high school. She was listed as a resident of her parents' home in the suburb when her childhood home was sold for $355,000 in 2016, 2 years before her election to Congress, according to land records cited by LaHood.com. Richard Kennedy, who works at the Uncle Giuseppe supermarket in town, said he thinks the 35-year-old lawmaker's short stay in the city before moving to Yorktown doesn't even qualify her as a Bronx girl. While she was born in the Bronx, she moved up to Yorktown as a tot. If you came here when you were 3 years old, you're from here, Kennedy bluntly said. Another local called Ocasio-Cortez a phony. You'd think she'd be proud of being from Yorktown, said a woman who did not want to be named. It's a great town. I don't get why you'd want to say you're not from here, added 31-4 Sandra Guarano, who said she owns a salon in town with her husband. We've dreamed of living here. It took us a long time and hard work to get here, and now that we're here, it's been no dream to live here. But some, including Guerrero's husband, came to the defense of the prominent poll. I understand why her heart was always close to the Bronx. I was born in Yonkers, and my grandmother raised me, but I'd say that I was raised in the Bronx because my family all lives there. But I don't tell people to push some narrative. I say I'm from the Bronx because my family is from 187th Street. Sabrina Gomes, 33, was born in the Bronx but raised above the borough and can't also relate to AOC. Maybe that felt like more home to her than this place. I also say I'm from the Bronx, but I've lived here for 30 plus years. Peter Clearly, the Yorktown Democrat Committee co-chair, called the entire controversy kind of silly and insisted many people in town are proud of her. Ocasio-Cortez leaned into the debate Thursday when she sent out a fundraising email about the topic. I'm proud of how I grew up and talk about it all the time. My mom cleaned houses and I helped. We cleaned tutors' homes in exchange for SAD prep. Growing up between the Bronx and Yorktown deeply shaped my views of inequality, and it's a big reason I believe the things I do today. After she first won a Democratic Party primary in Congress in 2018, she caught heat for pushing the Bronx tale in her campaign profile, which stated at the time much of her life was defined by the 40-minute commute between her school and her family in the Bronx. Her campaign wiped the commute line and tweaked the bio to say she ended up attending public school in Yorktown, 40 minutes north of her birthplace. Yeah, she lied. But some Bronx residents made it clear AOC wasn't a true Bronx girl. It shouldn't be a crime to claim you're from the Bronx when you're not. Or it should be a crime to claim you're from the Bronx when you're not, a lifelong Bronx resident, Sandra S. said. Brittany M. says she feels Ocasio-Cortez isn't a true Bronx girl. Honestly, I think people only realize because she brought it up so many times. But she really believes she was from the Bronx the more she spoke about it. Okay. Got this story. It says doctor group sue Kennedy over COVID shot changes for kids, pregnant people. It says they say the decision erodes trust by pitting providers against federal recommendations that aren't grounded in evidence. A coalition of doctors groups led by the American Academy of Pediatrics filed a lawsuit of money against HHS Secretary RFK Jr., arguing that his May announcement that the government would no longer recommend COVID vaccine for healthy pregnant people and children violated longstanding norms governing U.S. immunization policy. So they're suing. The organization said Kennedy's May 19th secretarial directive documenting his move to pull the vaccine from the CDC's immunization schedule constitutes a final agency action ripe for challenge, knowing that he cited no emergency or specific circumstance to change support for the move. Secretarial directive is contrary to the wealth of data and peer-reviewed studies. No, it's not. Demonstrate the safety and efficacy of COVID vaccine. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I want to know the names of these doctors. The names of these doctors should all be made public so that people will know that who they are and that they don't want to see them. They should be chased out of polite society. This erodes trust, which is the foundation of a healthy physician-patient relationship. The group is asking a federal judge to order the restoration of the vaccine recommendations. This is ridiculous. This is not a position for a judge to get involved in. Did the judges get involved when they were mandating the vaccines? No. But now they're going to, oh my God. Pediatricians cannot stay silent as a system. I don't know. If these doctors believe in the vaccine, recommend it to your patients. They just, what these doctors want is they want to be covered. They want the immunity. They want the shield so that they can't be sued if something bad happens when they recommend the vaccine. But if they recommend the vaccine and the government doesn't back it, the doctors are on the hook for malpractice. That's what they're mad about. That's what this is all about, money. Plaintiffs in the case of Kennedy unlawfully sidelining the CDC and its independent vaccine panel. The statutory scheme that regulates vaccine infrastructure in this country demonstrates Congress' repeated policy decision to require that ACIP recommendations made on a fairly balanced ACIP membership for the basis, but fucking bullshit. Whatever. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. And of course, you got Chuck Schumer demands an investigation of Trump, Weather Service vacancies in the wake of the Texas flooding, because never let anything go to waste. Chuck Schumer's outrage is pure theater. The National Weather Service staffing issues did not start 2025. They festered under Biden's watch with decades of bureaucratic bloat and misplaced priorities. H.R. 5108 exposed how D.C. wasted billions on redundant programs while its critical agencies like NWS were starved. Trump's Doge is cutting the fat, not the mission. The Houston office still delivered forecasts despite vacancies because real professionals adapt. Schumer's sudden concern, a distraction from his own failures to secure disaster funding. Instead of finger pointing, maybe ask why Texas' flood infrastructure crumbled under 4 years of Biden's neglect. This is just a hill. It says Schumer demands Trump Weather Service vaccine vacancies in wake of the Texas flood. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he said, "Oh, these people help save lives, so that's why we're going to do this. We're going to investigate. It's a national tragedy when people are cussing are mourning. The American people deserve to know, deserve answers." Yes, we read all this stuff already. Keep going. Then we got this story. It's NPR continues to make the case for its own defunding, even in defending itself against claims of bias and slanted coverage. NPR is running segments on the defunding that omit opposing views or voices. So yeah, go. There's discussing what funding cuts could mean and all that stuff, and they're not saying why that funding should be cut. Oh. Okay, now we're going to jump into Democrats all crying about ICE. We've got first Senate crybaby Padilla. Armored vehicles, tactical gear, military-grade weapons, all for show. This isn't security, it's intimidation. It has no place in our communities. Heavily armed immigration agents descend on MacArthur Park in L.A. Yeah, whatever. Senator Padilla's performative outrage ignores the reality. ICE operations in L.A. targeted criminal violators with federal warrants amid violent unrest. His June 8th disruption of a DHS press conference where he barged in uninvited, uncredentialed, and unhinged proves he prioritizes political theater over public safety. Federal agents faced with projectiles, arson, and coordinated resistance while enforcing laws in California refused to uphold the National Guard's presence authorized under Article 10, protecting officers and restored order after local leadership failed. Padilla's intimidation narrative is a distraction from his own reckless grandstanding during an active federal emergency. Lawful enforcement isn't a debate, it's non-negotiable. And then we got this one. We got Dan Goldman allowing ICE agents to hide their faith and during math immigration internet. It's not about safety, it's about fear, intimidation, and avoiding oversight. I introduced legislation with Representative Asmelat to ban agents from wearing masks and require they display identification during immigration internet. We live in a democracy, not a dictatorship, with masked unidentified police. Read more here. My name is Dan Goldman, and I'm an unethical idiot. ICE agents were wearing masks because they were getting doxxed by the left, which was dangerous to their families. You're a first-class creep. You're against lawmen upholding the law and rooting for people illegally in the U.S. That's about as immoral as you can be. And it doesn't just go with them. 6 Republican lawmakers are now calling on President Trump to end ICE sweeping raids and support mass amnesty for non-criminal illegals, citing pressure from employers. No thanks. This other 6 lawmakers who all need to be primaried and ran out of office. State Senator Suzette Valladares, State Minority Leader Brian Jones, State Senator Rosilese Alcaya Boyo, Assembly Member Heath Flora, Assembly Member Diane Dixon, Assembly Member Doreen Davies from Oceanside. Get them all out of office. They all need to go. Yep, they all need to be primaried. I'm going to keep repeating until the people I'm going to keep repeating this until people understand this. Karen Bass was not only a Castro operative and a communist, but she got elevated to vice chair of the National Endowment for Democracy, which is the center of soft power operations in the U.S. government. She's not a DEI mayor. She's an extremely powerful at the global stage. She was actively involved in shaping foreign policy with the Obama administration, especially in Africa. Her Ghana visit during the LA wildfires wasn't a vacation. It was part of a Biden delegation to greet Ghana's new president. She was considered HUD secretary for Biden administration. Instead, she nominated the person who would become the actual HHS secretary, California Attorney General Xavier Becerra. Now let me ask you, if a literal Castro operative gets elevated to this stage, what does that imply about the rest of the United States government? Remember, Karen Bass is an actual communist. who was trained in a Marxist brigade by the Castro regime. Karen Bass's history with the Venezolanos Brigade, a Castro-aligned Marxist group, isn't ancient activism. It's a blueprint for chaos. CIA flagged this brigade as a Cuban intel front, yet Bass rose to power, eulogizing Castro as Comandante en Jefe in 2016. While Biden's administration funneled $34 million to Cherla, a group organizing anti-ICE riots in her city. ICE targeted violent criminals, child abusers, traffickers, but Bass framed federal enforcement as terror, echoing her brigade anti-U.S. imperialism playbook. Now LA burns as she leverages rapid response networks. To shield illegals, not citizens. DHS called out her rhetoric for inciting violence against ICE agents, yet Biden's State Department elevated her to global soft power roles. When Castro operatives shape U.S. policy, it's not incompetence, it's ideological sabotage. To fund the rot, audit every dime tied to these networks, and purge the commie cancer from governance. Receipts on Bass, radical pipeline, and impact on U.S. policy are all here. Mm-hmm. Breaking with hundreds of federal agents and military as a massive federal immigration enforcement operation is underway in the MacArthur Park area of the sanctuary city of Los Angeles, an area heavy with MS-13 influence. Mayor Bass has demanded the raids stop. Feds respond with one of the largest yet, including Border Patrol agents on horseback. Protesters already showing up. Look at them. They're on horses and everything. They ain't screwing around. LA Mayor Karen Bass just arrived on scene. She's speaking with the Border Patrol. Oh, let's hear what she has to say.
Mayor Bass, can you at least explain your purpose to being down here? They kind of let us loose when they said no. You're free to go somewhere else. What's going on? What are they really doing inside the park? Oh, I like him. I like him. Hey, I take back what I said to your boys over there, all right? This is for you.
Oh, okay. Protesters now showing up in large numbers. Report over radio of a federal vehicle having a tire slash and some objects being thrown at the vehicles.
Feel safe as American citizens. Having this amount of law enforcement show up to a public park feels overwhelming. I'm staying safe. What are you guys doing here? Who is your supervisor? Who can tell them talk? What are you going to do with that hot shit guns? What are you going to do?
Oh my, did you see the teeth on that thing? Look at that. Look at that. Look at that mouth. Look at that. Oh my God. Is that meth mouth? What is that? Oh. Oh, gross. 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 It's gross.
It's the other dude. His camera person. Yes. Oh, here, 10-1. Step back in. Where is this?
Yeah. I personally don't care if some of these people were to get wood shampoo. How many are too many? Bill, did you ever hear about the lesbia's preventable death? Of course not. That's why to do this. I posted the death of 1,060 people killed or allegedly killed by an illegal. There have been thousands of these preventable deaths. Horrible. Horrible. Here's Karen Bass. She says, we need these federal agents off our streets. End the raids now. Look at her.
I am going to say.
Mayor Bass, I need to get my phone and we're departing.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor Bass. Mayor Bass.
Any comment, Mayor Bass?
Thank you.
Mayor Bass, any comment?
Yes, my comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now. They need to leave because this is unacceptable.
Who did you speak with?
Just wait and see.
Mayor Bass,
They will be leaving soon.
Mayor Bass, who did you speak with on the phone just now? Who did you speak with on the phone?
The head of customs.
Wow.
So she thinks that she has the authority to kick the federal agents out of the city. Huh. She should have been arrested immediately. On the spot. This has just got to stop. Yeah, we know we need you out of office. It's actual miraculous that you didn't resign from the welfare. All you care about is illegals and homeless drug dealers, not our kids who have no parks. Yeah. LA Mayor Bass is rushing to protect drug dealers and homeless junkies in MacArthur Park, not the kids who have no safe parks to play in. He's trying to stop the federal ICE raids. We need federal agents off our streets, end the raids now. That's the Los Angeles City Mayor openly defying federal law enforcement siding with high-level criminals. Tom Homan, you need to lock her up and throw away the key. And here's another one. Now you got this Congress. This is playing into the stories about the Democrats, how people are telling them they got to do more, they got to get violent, they got to get blood in the streets, and here they are. The administration needs to stop terrorizing the communities now. Full stop. This is where the Democratic Party is now. They're truly and deeply believe that it's law enforcement agents who are the terrorists, not the illegal alien criminals. Yeah. Mayor Bass confronts federal agents at MacArthur Park, demands withdrawal. Yeah. See? This is nuts. Mayor Bass was at the scene, surrounded by local media. A short time later, she left the area in a city-issued vehicle. No plan other than fear, chaos, and politics. She saying they have completed their mission here. What's the time frame before they leave? It's none of their business when they leave. Seconds later, they need to leave, and they have to leave right now because it's unacceptable. This is footage today from MacArthur Park minutes before where there's more than 20 kids playing and the military comes through. The second I heard this, I went to the park to speak in persons in charge and tell them they need to end now. Absolutely outrageous. It's not outrageous. What's outrageous? These people think that they could do this. Yeah. We need ICE out of LA now. ICE is never leaving LA. We're going to send more ICE to LA. I hope you guys are ready because it's coming. That's right. It's coming. We are going to double down, triple down on sanctuary cities. Why? Not because they're a blue city or a blue state, because we know that's where the problem is, says real Tom Homan. They're releasing public safety threats to the street every day.
Zoran Mondani, the likely next mayor of New York City's promised not to cooperate with you or with ICE or with deportations of any kind. Do you have a plan? Is there a plan to work around that? How are you going to handle it?
Feel like I'm at, we're going to be in New York City, and President Trump said it 2 weeks ago. We're going to double down and triple down in sanctuary cities. Why? Not because they're a blue city or a blue state, because we know that's where the problem is. We know they're releasing public safety threats and national security threats to the streets every day because they don't honor our detainers. We know that. We don't have that problem like in Florida, where every sheriff in the state's working with us. So where we're going to send our assets, we're going to send them where the problem is. Sanctuary cities. So I've said it before, we'll flood the zone of sanctuary cities.
Zoran Mondani, the likely next mayor of New York City.
Mm-hmm. Sanctuary cities are a direct threat to the national security and public safety. The Lake and Riley Act, Section 2, mandates detention for illegal aliens charged with burglary, theft, and assault. Crimes sanctuary jurisdictions ignore. Cities like New York released Jose Ibarra, a Venezuelan gang member, before he murdered Lake and Riley. This isn't about politics, it's about lawlessness. Trump's policy, crush, catch, and release, slashed illegal crossings, and restored order. Sanctuary mayors prioritize ideology over citizens, shielding criminals while Americans pay the price. Defying federal law isn't a compassion, it's complicity. The facts behind these failures demand attention. Mm-hmm. Bill Balloon says, I just spoke to Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bavino, who was at the official on the phone with LA Mayor MacArthur Park. I asked for his message to her as he demands the raids end. I don't work for Karen Bass. Better get used to us now because it's going to be normal very soon. It will go anywhere, anytime we want in Los Angeles. Good. Good. Oh, here we go. Crazy judges. Now we're going to jump to crazy judges. This is probably going to be the last story because nobody wanted me to go longer. So it is what it is. 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 Federal judge blocks the big, beautiful bill defunding Planned Parenthood and Medicaid. Holy smokes, the bill's hardly been law for half a second. The judge located in Boston, they judge shop. Don't give a dime. Do not give a dime to Planned Parenthood. A TRO from a congressionally passed bill. So now we're not only having judges pretending to be the president, but Congress now too. These activist judges are really generous. They're setting up such easy layups to create new binding law when they get reversed. Another insane ruling by another Democrat activist judge. Congress has the power of the purse. It's decided to stop funding Planned Parenthood. That should be the end of the story. Even if it were somehow illegal, the proper recourse for federal contracts is the Court of Federal Claims. Instead, Boston Obama judge Indira Talwani thinks she has the power of the purse. Congress must use the power of the purse to get in line these activist judges. Breaking up, federal judge has blocked a big, beautiful bill provision to defund Planned Parenthood. Yeah, emergency motion for a temporary restraining order. So she just restrained Congress. Congress can't pass laws. You guys realize what is going on here? Lawfare. First Democrat judges blocked Trump's EO-driven agenda. Now they're blocking Congress from passing laws. If neither the president nor Congress can govern without the permission of unelected rogue judges like Indira Talwani, who blocked the big, beautiful bill's law defunding of Planned Parenthood, it seems like we no longer have a democracy. Yeah. The real issue isn't judicial independence, it's judicial supremacy. When unelected judges override both executive action and congressional appropriations, they shred the Constitution, separation of powers, and the Supreme Court's 2025 USA Day ruling set a dangerous precedent, allowing activist judges to block fiscal policy decisions that redirect taxpayer funds from the global's pet projects to the American priorities. Now the pattern repeats itself with domestic spending. Congress explicitly defunded Planned Parenthood in the big, beautiful bill, yet a single Obama-appointed judge claims the authority to override elected representatives. This isn't checks and balances, it's judicial tyranny masquerading as law. Taxpayers deserve accountability, not black-robed bureaucrats dictating where the money flows. If courts can paralyze both White House and Capitol Hill, we've traded representative government for robed oligarchy. Planned Parenthood sued HHS challenging big, beautiful bills to funding of non-profit abortion provides like Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood also seeks a TRO. Will abuse of TRO continue? The answer is yes. Here's a motion and a few thoughts. First, this is not a bill of attainder, as the funding organizations that provide abortion is not punishment but a policy preference. Two, the funding is not based on speech but on performance of abortions. And then here's this. It says, federal judge pauses Trump administration's Planned Parenthood defunding measure. Well, it's actually, no, Congress's defunding measure. It was passed by Congress. Massachusetts federal judge issued temporary restraining order against the provision in the big, beautiful bill that would halt Medicaid funding of Planned Parenthood.
Today, pro-life groups will pass out more than 390,000 diapers to parents during the 390
Pregnancy Resource Center or church close
by,
right. So we can make
once
a
again,
statement not just about.
Once again, you tricked me. A federal judge Monday prevented the Trump administration from enforcing a massive tax and spending bill that would block Medicaid funding for Planned Parenthood health centers. The temporary restraining order by Judge Indira Talwani blocks the big, beautiful bill's provision to defund the family planning provider. An issue in a provision is new tax and spend bills signed by law that eliminates 1 year of Medicaid payments for Planned Parenthood health centers because the organization also provides abortions. The White House official said Fox News that Trump administration committed to end the use of taxpayer dollars to fund or promote abortions. The official noted the administration's stance is a common sense position that overwhelmingly supported by the majority of Americans. On Monday, federal Planned Parenthood Federation of America sued in federal court. The prohibition specifically targets Planned Parenthood of America and its member health providers. Yeah, so we have judges that think that they could do whatever they want. Yeah, so here it is. You know, federal judge blocks Planned Parenthood defunding in big, beautiful bill. Federal judge blocks Planned Parenthood funding big, beautiful bill. We just have judges that think they could just do it. They're blocking a law passed by Congress. A judge just comes in and says, "Nope, you can't do it." And then here this same judge that tried to stop the deportation of 500,000 Haitians, Cubans, and Nicaraguans. This is what happens when radical activists is put in a lifetime position. Impeach these people now.
Parole program. Without these protections, more than 530 people had been told they would be deported by the end of the month. This is including one family in our region.
I became a homeowner of a larger home because I expected my family to be with me when I became a superintendent of this school district.
Superintendent of the Winooski District, Wilmer Chavarria, was born in Nicaragua in a refugee camp before coming to the United States. He says his family was promised protection in the U.S. under the CHNV parole program, but the Trump administration aims to revoke those protections. He hopes his family's story sends a clear message.
To many people, might just be a number, might be one more.
Oh, well, too bad. So sad. We're full. The Baba judge has now granted a TRO against the provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill that defunded abortion providers. So now a law is unlawful. Why does the left want to force Americans to fund abortion? This judge needs to be impeached. Here's the complaint. Temporary restraining order. It's so ordered. This needs to be immediately appealed. It says granted. Yeah. It needs to be immediately appealed. Okay, well, I think that's it. I think that's it for the evening. I've been going about 2 hours. I didn't, I don't know. I just don't feel it tonight. Nobody really seems to want me to go any longer. So I want to thank everybody who's here. If you're new, please remember to hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment if you would. Let me know what you think of the video, what you like, what you don't like. And I'll see you tomorrow night, same time, 10 o'clock. Just remind you all to come on by and let Jim tell you the news.